Have you ever felt like you're speaking a different emotional language than someone important in your life? Are you constantly reaching out across an invisible divide only to grasp empty air? You're not alone, and today, we will understand why. Hi, I'm Evelyn Stonebridge. After 2 decades of counseling successful professionals, I've noticed something fascinating. Emotional unavailability often shows up most prominently in high-achieving individuals and their relationships. Let me share something that happened in my practice last week. A brilliant tech executive, we'll call her Sarah, came to me frustrated about her partner's emotional distance. "I can solve complex problems at work," she said, "but I can't seem to crack the code of this relationship." What she didn't realize yet was that she was dealing with a pattern of emotional unavailability. But here's what makes this topic so complex. Emotional unavailability isn't always obvious. It often masquerades as busyness, independence, or even strength. In fact, research shows that 60% of professionals struggle to recognize emotional unavailability in their relationships, both with others and with themselves. Let me share 3 stories that illustrate different faces of emotional unavailability. Stories I've encountered in my years of relationship counseling. First, there's Michael, a successful attorney who prided himself on his logical approach to everything, including relationships. He could negotiate million-dollar deals, but couldn't understand why his partner felt disconnected when he treated their relationship like a business transaction. Then there's Jennifer, a CFO, who was repeatedly drawn to emotionally distant partners. She was exceptional at reading financial statements, but struggled to read emotional cues. It wasn't until she understood the pattern that she could break it. Finally, there's David, a software architect who used work as a shield against emotional intimacy. His productivity was impressive, but his relationships suffered. These stories might sound familiar, because emotional unavailability often follows predictable patterns. What's fascinating is that neuroscience shows us that emotional unavailability isn't just a choice, it's often a protective mechanism wired into our brains through past experiences. But here's the pivotal moment in understanding emotional unavailability. It's not about blame, it's about recognition and response. Whether you're dealing with an emotionally unavailable partner, colleague, friend, or family member, or recognizing these patterns in yourself, awareness is the first step to change. Let me share the framework I've developed through years of counseling successful professionals. I call it the REACH method. R. Recognize the patterns. E. Evaluate your role. A. Acknowledge limitations. C. Communicate boundaries. H. Honor your needs. Let's break each of these down. Recognition involves understanding the signs of emotional unavailability, avoiding deep conversations, deflecting emotional topics, prioritizing work over relationships, maintaining surface-level connections, struggling with vulnerability. Evaluation means looking honestly at your own patterns. Are you attracted to emotional unavailability because it feels familiar? Are you perhaps emotionally unavailable yourself? Acknowledgement involves accepting that you can't force emotional availability on others. This is often the hardest step for high achievers who are used to making things happen through sheer will. Communication requires setting clear, compassionate boundaries. It isn't about ultimatums. It's about honest expression of one's needs and limits. Honoring your needs means caring for your emotional health, even when others can't meet you there. Now let me share some practical strategies for dealing with emotional unavailability. The pause practice. When you encounter emotional unavailability, pause before reacting. Ask yourself, is this about them, or is this triggering something in me? The mirror technique. Notice how their emotional unavailability affects you. Your reaction often reveals important information about your own emotional needs. The boundary blueprint. Create clear, kind boundaries about what you will and won't accept in relationships. This isn't about controlling others. It's about protecting yourself. The growth focus. Instead of trying to change someone else, focus on your own emotional growth. This might mean developing new support systems or working on your own emotional availability. What's particularly important for our professional audience is that emotional unavailability often masquerades as professional dedication. But research shows that emotional intelligence is actually a stronger predictor of success than technical skills alone. As we wrap up, remember this: dealing with emotional unavailability isn't about fixing others. It's about choosing how we respond and what we accept in our relationships. I'd love to hear about your experiences with emotional unavailability. Share your story in the comments below. And if you're ready to dive deeper into emotional intelligence and relationship dynamics, check out my video on the science of emotional intelligence. The link is in the description below. Thank you for joining me today. This is Evelyn Stonebridge, reminding you that emotional availability starts with understanding ourselves. Remember to like this video if you found it valuable, and subscribe for more insights on building deeper, more meaningful relationships. Until next time, keep reaching for authentic connections. They're worth the effort.